Masechet Moed Katan Daf Yomi. Okay, Hediot Tofer Kedarko. We're talking about that the Hediot, a simple person, he could sew normally. Okay, so says the Gemara, Hechi Dami Hediot. What is the case exactly that the Hediot is allowed to come to be Tofer Kedarko on Chol Moed? So says Amri Devera Bianai. We learned, right? 10A1, right? We said the Academy of Rabbi, right? The Academy of Rabbi Yanai. If he cannot take out, right, the meaning like this, when he's actually coming and putting in the needle, the idiot, if he cannot take out a melom machat bevatacha, which means that he has to take a few times, right, and then he has to pull it. Okay, if he has to do that a whole bunch of times, so then that's going to be okay. But if he's going to be moshech machat with it every single time, right, so that's what he says over here, that it's going to be the kedarko. Here, let's just see what it says over here. Because if you know how to do that, that's considered Maseh Uman, which means if you know how to do it in one shot, so then that's considered Maseh Uman, that you're an expert. If you don't know how to do it in one shot, so then that means that you're not an expert. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina says, Kol she'eno yachol lechaven imra bechefet chaluko. If you don't know how to be tofer, right, which means you don't know how to sew, equal to the safa, which means with at the end of the chaluk, but only one place you're going to be mikatzer and one place you're going to be machiv, meaning that you're not a professional, you don't know how to do it properly. So then that's considered you're allowed to do it kedarko. Okay? You're with me? Okay. The uman is going to be machliv. What is machliv? My machliv. Rabbi Yochanan says mafsi'a. What does it mean mafsi'a? He's not making the tefirot close to each other like normal, but rather he's distancing it. Which means usually the tofer that he's very, very good, he does one right beside each other. Here he has to distance one to another. That's what he's able to do. Then Rabbi Bar Shmuel Amar shine kalbeta, which means that he's not doing it straight like normally, but he has to do one up, one down, like the teeth of a dog. Okay, that's what he has to do. Okay, next. Misargin et amitot. So he's going to be misareg et amitot. If you remember, this is to intertwine the beds. What does it mean to intertwine or to make it straight, just to pull it right straight? So Kiata Rav Dimi Amar, when Rav Dimi came, he came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel. He said, "Pligi batzamachok between Rabbi Barabba and Rabbi Yasi. V'tarvayu mishmed Chizkiya and Rabbi Yochanan. Both of them said the name of Chizkiya and Rabbi Yochanan. Chadamar, one of them says misargin sheti v'erev, which means they're intertwining the sheti v'erev, which means the perpendicular and the meaning the how do you call the sheti v'erev? No, sheti verev is this way and this way. How do you call it? The perpendicular and the longitude and latitude, basically, right? Horizontal and vertical. There you go. Horizontal and vertical. Which one?
Lengthwise and crosswise.
Lengthwise and crosswise, right? And umimatchin is sheti without the erev. Okay, which means what? How does it translate there? Mimatchin. Another one is the opposite. Chadaman. One of them says misargin is sheti without the erev. Matchin shimaya rafui. If it was very, very soft, very weak, so then mimatcho, you're able to tighten it.
The ropes of the bed, which were woven on the bed before the festival, become loosened. They may be tightened.
Right. Okay. Fine. Next, ini, is it so? Vatani, we learned in the Braita of Tachlifa Bashul, says of Tachlifa Bashul v'shavim, that Rabbi Meir and Rav Yosef are shavim. Which means that you don't come, you don't intertwine a bed at the beginning on Chol Moed. So I understand the mandamar that says misargin sheti matchin sheti without erev. That's why Rav Tachliv Bashul came and he said shavim shemavshilin chavalim lechila. But according to the mandamar that says misargin sheti below erev matchin shimaya rafuim ayam matcho hashta sheti ve'erev martalo. If you already told me that you can't do sheti ve'erev chavalim lechatchila mibai, so then you're allowed to do chavalim lechatchila. Just going to share the screen over here. This is the hediot. Echidami hediot is tofer kol shenu yachol leotzi machat bevat achat, that he can't take it out in one shot. Look over here, everyone. That's the first one. That he can't take out the machat in one shot. The next picture.
The teeth of the dog.
Yeah, it's the teeth of the dog. Okay, shine kalbata. And now we're talking about misargin sheti v'erev. Look, this is a sheti and that's the erev. So the erev is going around over here. length, and this is a sheti, this way. Okay, then it's azir mematchin, which means that they just come and they make it tighter. That's the next picture. What can you do on Chol Moed? This is the next one, which is basically going to be Mishisirog Bashlosha Batim, 3 batim, which is 3 lines. Okay? And then there we're going to see that you could put since you could put utensils there, so we're not going to come and do this tircha. Fine, let's continue. So says the Gemara. Okay. So it says, Kashi, it's a good question. Is anyone that says sheti below erev, that you actually explained that you could do the sheti without the erev? But now we learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Min Omer, that was the picture that would have the 3 lines. Once you do the 3 lines into the bed, that's already enough. When Ravin came, he says, obviously, if it's going to be Misragim, according to everybody, it's talking about sheti verev. When is a machloka between them matchin, to do the matchin? More savar mematchin sheti below erev, that you do it the sheti without the erev, more savar shemiyad rafui mematchot. But if it was going to be loose, you're able to tighten it. So Meitve, we're going to ask the following question. Misargina mita v'entzrich lomar mematchin. You're allowed to be misareg the mita. So obviously, you're allowed to be memateach the mita. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. Yosef says, no, mematchin, but you're not allowed to be misargin. Right? And some people say, you're not allowed to do mematchin at all. So Bishman Lamandamar, I understand the mandamar that's mematchin is sheti below erev. I know that's why the Yeshomrim come to argue. But according to them, Namar, if it was rafui, you're allowed to come in mematcho, which means you're allowed to tighten it, right? So shimi rafui matcho, Yeshomrim matcho namilo. What? You can't even do that as well? Says Gemara, yes. Why? Since you could come and fill it up with clothing, lo tarchinan, you're not allowed to come and start moteach the chavalim, because that's a tircha shlor tzorich, which means like this. If the fact that right now you could put things on the bed, yes. So the fact that you could put things in the bed, we're not going to allow you to come and start tightening it, right? In order for you to come and to start doing that on Chol Moed. Why? That's a tircha shelo letzorich. It's a tircha for no necessity. So because of that, it's going to be asur. Okay, now we're on the Mishnah Yod Amud Aleph. As the Mishnah, Mamidin Tanur v'Kiraim v'Rechaim, you're allowed to put a tanur in a kiraim, right? Remember, tanur was an oven, kiraim is like a stovetop, even though they were very similar in the olden days. V'Rechaim, and a rechaim is a mill. Rabbi Yehuda on B'Moed on Chol Moed. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, em mechabshin et rechaim etchila. You're not allowed to come and put the rechaim. The Gemara is going to explain what is mechabshin, the rechaim at the beginning. Says the Gemara, my mechabshin, what does it mean mechabshin? Rabbi Yehuda says menaker rechaya, which means you're making charitzim, you're making like holes in the stone of the rechaim. So therefore, when it's going to be, right, you make it in order that you could put it. So Rabbi Chiel says, bat ina, you're making a hole, right, in the middle of the rechaim. So all these things, right, you know what to do. Let's see here if we have the pictures. So this picture right now, this is the tanur in the rechaim. The first one is the tanur. Okay, Rashi says, tocho chalul, it's hollow. Okay, so that's here, on the bottom, right here. Okay, the next one is the kiraim. This is the kiraim. Okay, this one right here, that's the kiraim. Next, right, minaker rechaya. What is minaker rechaya? Right, Rashi says, "Keshehi yeshana v'chalaka menakrin ota kedei shelo yishaveh kedei sheyifreshu achetim tachtea." So you make this hole, okay, and the batena is this one right here. You make the hole over here. You have it right in front of you.
Yeah, but which one? The hole at the bottom?
We have a question. It says over here mefurash and a braita that you're allowed to come and you're allowed to put a tanur and a kinaim and a rechaim on the moed on Chol Moed, but you're not allowed to finish a melacha completely. These are words of Rabbi Eliezer. Chachamim say af yigmor, you're allowed to even finish it off. Rabbi Yehuda Omer mishmor. Rabbi Yehuda says in his name mamidin et hachadasha. You're allowed to place the new one umchabshin et yeshana, and you're allowed to be mechabesh et yeshana. Remember the yechabesh, there was the 2 different shitot. What is mechabshin? Whether it's you're making like a hole or you're making a charitz in the even, right, which is like a split in the stone. So yeshomim, some people say mechabshin kulka, you're not allowed to do it at all. So bishman I understand the mandamar that says mechabshin minaker rechaya, which means you're making a charitz in the rechaim, you're making this hole in the rechaim. Hainu de mashkach ala b'yishana. That's why it's written that you could find it in the old one. But according to the mandamar bat ena, which means you're just making a hole in the middle of the rechaim, in the middle of the mill. Yeshana bat ena lamale. Why do you have to make a hole in the middle? right? You already have a hole in the middle. So what are you making a new one now? So answers the Gemara, you want to make a little bit of a bigger hole than the hole that's already existing. Okay, that's what you're doing. Rav Huna, he heard that there was a certain person that he was making the nikur, the hole in the rechaim on Chol Moed. Amar, he says, man hai, what is this? Who's this? Yitchil gufeh de kamachil chol moed. Yitchalel gufo, that he's being mechalel the moed. I mean, mamash, he like cursed the guy. How could it be that he's coming in being mechalel the chol moed? Savala ki yeshomrim. Obviously, he held like the yeshomrim that you're not allowed to make any types of holes on chol moed. Darash Rav Chama. Rav Chama comes and he was doresh in front of the rabbim. Nukrin rechaim moed. You're allowed to be menaker. What is menaker? To make the charitzim in the rechaim in the moed. These are the names of Rabbi Meir Amar. Afilu sus rochev alav. Even if it's going to be a sus which is riding on it and a chamor which is riding on it from the moed, you're allowed to come and you're allowed to cut the nails on chol moed. So it comes out that the cutting nails on chol moed is sorech moed. So therefore, there's no problem. Why? Because if not, they're going to be mitztaed and they can't walk in it. So therefore, even the sus and the chamor, you're allowed to come and cut their nails on chol moed in order that they're able to walk on chol moed.
Us too?
Yeah.
Cutting their nails.
Yes. Aval chamarat yodam bet 10b. Aval chamarat derechaya lo. But sipone the chamor, which is going around the rechaim, you're not allowed to do on chol moed. Why? Because there, right? Since it's permitted to be tochen only for the moed, so it's such a small amount that you don't need to do it. Meaning, if it's the chamor to travel or the sus to travel, they have to travel a lot. If you're not going to cut their nails, it's going to be a tzar, so you're allowed to do so. But the one that goes around the rechaim, since you're only allowed to use the rechaim. Sorry, thank you. Since you're only allowed to use the rechaim for such a small amount, just for the moed, so therefore it's no big deal that he's going around that much around the rechaim, right? Because he used to go around the mill, right? So therefore, it's going to be. Yeah. He comes and he says like this. So says the Gemara, Rav Yehuda shari lemishkal tufre lechamra derechaya. Rav Yehuda argued, and he permitted cutting the nails of the chamor of the rechaim, ulukme rechaya, and to put the rechaim, right? That means to put it over here. Ulmivne rechaya, and even to build the rechaim. Ulmivne amat rechaya, and to build the etz which goes around the rechaim, which the rechaim is on it. Ulmivne uria, and to build the refet bakar. It's like a, how do you call it? Like the farm, where the animals are, the stalls, right? On Chol Moed. That means he permitted you to do everything on Chol Moed. Rav shadi l'siruke susaya. Rav permitted to comb the susim, the horses, with a masrek shel barzel, with an iron comb on Chol Moed. Ulmivne karpita, and to build an evus is a trough, right, where they used to put the grain. Ulmivne itztaba, and to build also an itztaba. Itztaba is like an asafsal of avanim on Chol Moed. Rava shadi l'mishkal dema lebehema b'Chol Moed. Rava, he permitted being mekiz dam for the animal on Chol Moed. Amalei Abaye comes and he says, Tanim Mitzalech, I've got a proof to it. Makizin dam lebehema, you're allowed to come and be makizin dam for a behema. Okay? So he says, Tana to Mesayelecha, so you've got a proof to this. Makizin dam lebehema, you're allowed to be makiz dam, you're allowed to take out blood for an animal. Ve'en monin refuah lebehemto b'Chol Moed, you're not going to stop refuah for an animal on Chol Moed. Rava shari lekeskuse kidme, Rav permitted to be megahetz, you're allowed to iron on Chol Moed. Right? My tama, what's the reasoning? Masechet Yotu. By the way, that's halakha l'maaseh also. So Ben Sion permitted ironing on Chol Moed. If it was already previously, like washed and everything, you're allowed to iron a shirt, but only what you need for Chol Moed, obviously. Okay, what you need for Chol Moed. Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Amim Chasta says Yitzchak bar Amim Chasta kiture bir asir for both. Right? Kiture biri asir. You're not allowed to come and to make sharvulim. You're not allowed to make like sleeves on Chol Moed. My time, what's the reasoning? Maseu manhu, because then you need like a professional to do it. Amar Rava comes and he says, Man de matkil ara, somebody that takes away a michshol from the karka on Chol Moed, adaita deve bade, in order to make for their, a michshol is like a stumbling block. So then, in order to make their goren, to put like chitim, so he's putting like, like a granary of wheat there. Shadi, it's going to be permitted. Adaita dara, but if it's going to be for the planting of the field, it's going to be a suit. Because it looks like you're doing harisha on Chol Moed. It looks like you're plowing on Chol Moed. So hechidami, what's the kavanah then? How do we know his kavanah? Mulya b'mulya, if he's taking, right, from the ground and he's putting it back, unsa bensa, or he's taking from the karka, from the hole, and he's putting it back in the hole. So then adaita devebare, then he's doing it in order to make a granary and not to prepare it for plowing. Shakal mulya v'shadab ninsa, but if he's going to take away from the karka and he's putting it, right, and he's throwing it out, right, and then he's making it even, so then at daita da'ara, then he's doing it for the ground, and he's not doing it for any other reason. The Amar Rava comes and he says, Haiman de zache ziche, somebody that comes and is mechabed the karka, which means he's grooming the floor, and he's taking etzim on Chol Moed. Adaita detiv, if he's doing it for the wood, it's going to be permitted, right? But then you need it for Chol Moed. Adaita da'ara, but if you're doing it for the ground in order to prepare for planting, it's going to be asur. Hechi dami, how do you know what is this kavanah? Shakar Rava v'shakeh zutev, he's taking the big wood and he's leaving the small woods. Adaita detzivis, then he's doing it for the wood. But Shakar Rava, if he's taking everything from the ground, adaita da'ara, that he's doing it for the ground in order to prepare it for plowing, for planting and plowing, and then it's going to be asur on Chol Moed. Now Amar Rava, another psak of Rava. Again, these are all different halachot that Rava was saying on Chol Moed. Hayman de patach maya le'arev. Somebody's going to open up water, right, to go into your field on Chol Moed, like through a hole. So adaita de kavre, if it's in order to trap fish for the moed, it's going to be permitted. Why? Because it's for the moed. Adaita de, if it's going to be for the ground, it's going to be asur. Hey chadami, how are you going to come and you're going to know the kavanah? Patach trei bave, if you open two entrances, chad milai v'chad mitatai, one from the top and one in order that the fish could come in, and one from the bottom, right, in order that the water could come in and the fish would stay there. Adaita the kavanah is doing it for the fish. Patach chad bava, but if you only made one entrance in order that the water should come there and you didn't do it another one, so that way they could go out, so then adaita da'ara, you're doing it only for the ground and you're not doing it for the fish, and it's going to be prohibited. The Amar Rava says, Haiman de pashach dikla, which means that you are pruning the dekel, right? The dekel is a palm tree, so you're pruning it. You're cutting off part of the branches on Chol Moed. Adaita de chevata, if you're doing it in order to give to your animal to eat, it's going to be permitted. Adaita de dikla, if it's going to be for the palm tree, it's going to be asur. Hechi dami, how do you know the kavanah? Shakil kule mechad gisa, if you're going to take them all from one side, whether they're dry or moist, adaita de chavata, you're giving it to your animal. But if you're taking from this side and the other side, right, which means that mitzad you're only taking the dry ones from both sides. Adaita dedikla, you're only doing it to appreciate the value of the palm tree, and then it's going to be asur. Rava, and Rava also says, Hani tamre tuchlane, these dates which are not completely ripened, migzerinu shari, to cut them into two in order to eat on Chol Moed, it's going to be permitted, but you're doing it for Chol Moed. Maitzinu asir, but if you're going to put them underneath in order to make them like tzimukim, like raisins, it's going to be asur. Because in the kavanah is to eat them after Chol Moed, and you're not allowed to make a food for after Chol Moed. Rav Papa says no. Kevan de matli, since if you're not going to cover them, if you're not going to press them, right, it's going to become all full of tolaim. Kefrakmati avedami, so it's considered a loss. Remember, anything which is a loss is going to be permitted on Chol Moed. An eighth teaching of Rava. Ve'amar Rava says, Frakmati kol shu asur. If you're going to do even a small business on Chol Moed, it's going to be asur. Rabbi Yossi Baravin says, if it's going to be davar aved, it's mutar. Remember, davar aved means anything which is going to get lost. You're going to have a loss. It's going to be permitted. Ravina v'le'ai iska dava mizdabem b'shita alpe. Ravina yara sechora, which was being sold for 6,000 zuz. Shayel zebune batar Chol Moed. He waited to sell it until after Chol Moed. V'zavne b'treisar alpe, and he sold it for 12,000. So you see that he was rewarded for the fact that he waited. He was rewarded that instead of selling it for 6,000, now the price went up, and now he sold it for 12,000. Ravina v'maske zuze b'vnei akra de shanvata. Ravina had money lent to the people of Akra Shanvata. Okay? Atala Kamed Ravashi, he came in front of Ravashi and Chol Moed. Amalei, he says, Ma'olameza, can I go now and collect the money? Amalei, he said, Kevan da'ina hu de meshkachalu, since you could only find them now in their houses, but you're not going to find them any other time. Kifrak ma'adami v'shari. So then it's considered like davar aved, and it's going to be permitted. Remember, davar aved means if you're not, this is the only time that he's home. So if you're not going to get them now during Chol Moed, they're at their houses, you're never going to get them. Either they're traveling, they're here or there, you're allowed to go, and you could get the money now. Okay, Tani Nami also learned by Avodah Zarah, ki agavna the same halacha holchin liyerid shel ovdei kochavim mazalot. We're going to get to the Mishnah Yud Aleph Amud Aleph on 11a1. Okay, so you're allowed to go to a yerid of ovdei kochavim mazalot. Belochim be'ema avadim ushvacho batim sadok ravim. You're allowed to purchase an animal, slaves, maidservants, houses, fields, and vineyards. Ve'kotevu maleh barakot shalem. You're allowed to write it down, and you're allowed to put it in their courts. Why? Because you're saving it from their hands, so it's considered davar aved. So you see from here, you're allowed to go to this like marketplace, the goyim, and to buy all these things because you're saving it from their hands. Rav, this is all during Chol Moed, right? Rav Shara lechia bar ashi lemigdal ohare bechula demuada. Rav, he permitted to Chia bar Ashi to come and to put mitzudot dagim, to put traps for fish on Chol Moed. My time, what's reasoning? Masechet Yotu, because it's a normal. Everyone does it. But to make like a reshet for birds, right? Like a trap for birds, that's a sur. My time was reasoning Maseu Manhu, because then you need a professional to do that. So anything which is a professional work is prohibited. Anything which is personal is permitted. Rav Yehuda Shara le'ami tanura lemigdal tanure. So Rav Yehuda, he permitted to Ami, to Ami Tanura, that was the name. Le'ami al tanurim, he used to make tanurim, right? He was like how do you call it? An oven maker, right? Lemigdal tanure, in order to make tanurim chadashim and chol moed, Rabba bar is lemigdal meolta. And he used to come and he used to make nafot. Nafot is like the bellows. The sieve. A sieve, right? Like a sieve. Basically, it's like you use what? Nafa ukvara. Minifa. No. That's a minifa. Here it's nafa ukvara. Nafa is a sieve. When you find the flour, when you take like it's a sieve. Napa. Okay. Any is it so? Vehatani Rabba Shmuel v'shavim chen golin tanu lechatchila. I tell you, you're not allowed to make a new oven lechatchila on Chol Moed. Says the Gemara, it's not a question. During the summertime, when it's not raining, right? So, for example, on Chol Moed Pesach, when it's very dry, so you're allowed to make a tanur. Why? Because then it dries very, very quickly, and then you could actually make it and you could use it for Chol Moed. But here in the Braita is talking about when it's going to be asur, talking about in the wintertime. In the wintertime, since it's raining a lot, you need a lot of time in order to dry up. So therefore, even if you made it on Chol Moed, you're not going to use it for the Moed. You do use it only after the Moed. So then it's going to be asur. Is that the show we've continued? Not tomorrow. We continue another day.